So I just listened to Sufjan Stevens' new album, Javelin, and here are my thoughts. This is the third Sufjan Stevens album that I've listened to. I really enjoyed both Carrie and Lowell and A Beginner's Mind, so I was pretty excited to dive into this one. This is Sufjan's first solo album since 2020, and the album does have a pretty heartbreaking backstory to it. The album's dedicated to Sufjan's partner, who passed away earlier this year from Guillain-Barré syndrome. And while that might make you think that this album is going to be extremely down and dismal, the overall soundscape of the album is actually pretty mystical and enchanting. A lot of these songs often combine acoustic guitars with electronic drums, angelic backing vocals, and melancholic synths. This creates an album that feels sonically similar to Carrie and Lowell, but more full of life. A Running Start, as an example, has a mystical and enchanting atmosphere consisting of flutes, a bouncy bass line, and some shimmering synths. The background vocals here effectively add to the track as well, as they don't interrupt Sufjan and are given their own time to shine, which, as I'll talk about later, isn't always the case on this album. Sufjan's songwriting is obviously fantastic here. For example, on Will Anybody Ever Love Me, the heartbreaking lyrics are driven home by a hard-hitting but concise chorus. Will anybody ever love me for good reasons, without grievance, not for sport? Will anybody ever love me in every season? Pledge allegiance to my heart, pledge allegiance to my burning heart. A lot of the lyrics here use metaphors based on nature and otherworldly imagery to drive home a certain emotion, like on My Red Little Fox, where Sufjan uses some mystical imagery to write about his love, saying, "Kiss me with the fire of gods and kiss me like the wind." This gives a magical feel to the love and makes it feel like this love is greater than just a mortal connection. In terms of the vocals, they're pretty much the same whispered and low-key delivery that you come to expect on a Sufjan album, but there are occasionally some moments where Sufjan's vocals are more animated and colorful, like on the build-up to the drop on Goodbye Evergreen, where Sufjan extends his vocal range in order to lead into the drop. Shit Talk also features some of the most outwardly emotive singing on the album, and it makes sense for Sufjan's vocals to be more animated here, as it is kind of the emotional climax of the album. I do have a few gripes with some of the instrumental ideas here. First off, the mixing during the electronic drop on Goodbye Evergreen is too muddy, and it loses all the beauty that I think the track is going for. On Will Anybody Ever Love Me, the background vocals towards the end of the track become somewhat overpowering and whiny. While I do think the background vocals on this album for the most part bounce off Sufjan in an interesting way, they do occasionally feel forced and unnecessary. In general, I think this album showed more restraint and was a bit more stripped back. It would create a more powerful and emotional sense of intimacy. So You Are Tired is a great track that balances the intimacy that Sufjan is so great at and these more lush and dense instrumentals. It flows between passages of stripped back acoustic guitar and piano and layers of vocals, strings, and spacey drums pretty seamlessly. The transition between these moments isn't jarring in any way, and I think that's what makes this track so amazing. Maybe the most grim moment on the album comes with the shortest track, Javelin, To Have and To Hold, which seems to be Sufjan directly addressing the passing of his partner and the shame that he is experiencing. People grieve in different ways, and Sufjan here seems to be blaming himself for his partner's passing, while simultaneously realizing that this thought is, quote, a terrible one to have and hold. Following the shortest track, we get the longest track, Shit Talk, which comes in at 8.5 minutes. This song carries forward Sufjan's self-doubt that he expresses on the previous song, except this song seems to have been written in the latter stages of his partner's life. Sufjan simply wants to enjoy the last moments of his life, but simultaneously doubts if he's going to be able to. The refrain of "I don't want to fight at all" is repeated throughout the track to highlight Sufjan's inner dialogue. Sufjan needs to keep reminding himself to enjoy these final moments. It's a desperate and heartbreaking track that finishes off with an otherworldly synth-based outro, an outro that feels kind of reminiscent of a lot of the stuff that you get on Carrie and Lowell. It's just an absolute tearjerker, and I think it rivals pretty much everything off of Carrie and Lowell, and it does a great job as the penultimate track of the album and the emotional climax of the album. The final song, There's a World, seems to be Sufjan writing directly towards his partner and appreciating that he's hopefully in a better place now. It's a sincere and heartwarming way to finish off this record, and it really gives us the sense that Sufjan is starting to move forward with hope and positivity. All in all, is this my favorite album from Sufjan? No. I think I would still have to give that to Carey and Lowell, but this is certainly an album that you guys shouldn't miss. Sufjan is one of the best songwriters out there today, and while this album does have some instrumental moments that I don't love, I think the overall vision is very well thought out and executed with care. Please go listen to this, form your own opinion, and comment below your thoughts. As always, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.